Hey everybody. Monday morning. Yay! Who's excited for Monday? It's nice outside. Hopefully you guys had a great weekend. Let us see. I'm gonna have to calibrate my comp trainer. Do we have 6:30 yet? Almost. We'll give it another 5 seconds, maybe 10 seconds. If you've already warmed up, great. If not, go ahead and hop on the bike. I will hit start as soon as my clock kicks 6:30. Hey Mantha, are you on Zoom? Are you zooming? All right, 6:30. Time to go. So if you're just getting started, go ahead and get in a really easy gear. Spend about a minute there, especially if you're just waking up. You might be doing this workout on a video later, which maybe you're already a little bit warmed up. But for those of you who are just waking up, hi Marion, I think it's good just to get a really easy gear. And I did about like a 7-minute warm up, just what time I got on the bike. And I always notice those first 2 minutes, like I'm just still, half asleep, waking up. And then after a couple minutes, just keep switching to a slightly harder gear. The legs come alive, get more blood flow, and all of a sudden you feel more energetic. So I think it's a great metaphor for just, sometimes we just have to ease into something and then it becomes easier. I have to calibrate my comp trainer, so just keep riding easy. So make sure, I just calibrated my comp trainer, and that's the press on force. That's how much you screw in the trainer up against your back wheel. If you haven't in a while, next time you ride, make sure that your tire is pumped up. You want to keep your tire at a consistent pressure. So for me, it's like right around 95, 100 PSI. But that, if you let it drop, that'll change how much pressure on force you need. It'll change the ride quality. So again, you want to turn the wheel, the knob, so that when the roller is up against your tire, if you hold the flywheel and you pull up on the wheel, the rim, that it doesn't slide. If it slides, it means you need more force on the tire. So go ahead and switch to a harder gear. So today's workout, the purpose of today's workout is more of an aerobic workout, but we're going to work at the mid to upper end of the aerobic workout. So it's going to be a good workout. It's not meant to be a super hard workout. I'll save that for Thursday. I don't know what we're doing this next Thursday, but if you're looking for, I thought it was a really tough workout. If you're looking for one to really sweat a lot and really push yourself, last Thursday's workout was that kind of workout. So you might flag that one, just in terms of if you miss one of these workouts or just on another day, on another rainy Saturday, you're looking for a nice hard workout. That's definitely one that I would flag for that. You can even just copy the link and you can put it in like a Word document or something so that you can always go back to it. But today, we're working more aerobically. Part of that is because hopefully you're coming off a weekend where you got either some hiking in, or at least in the Pacific Northwest, we had picture perfect weather. I think it got to 82 degrees, which is hot for us, sadly. The rest of the country is like 82. Man, I would die for 82. Seattleites are busting out the air conditioning. But anyway, it was a great weekend. So hopefully you got out, enjoyed something outside. So we have to take advantage of it while it's here. Okay, back to the workout. So we're going to do 4 blocks of 7 minutes. We're going to start at 70%, which is that mid aerobic. It's where we typically find our gear of choice. So we could go easier and be at the lower end of our aerobic zone, and we can go a little bit higher to be at that top end of the aerobic zone. So for the first 2 minutes, we really want to try to find that middle ground. You know, it still feels moderate. Maybe it's slightly getting to moderately hard. You can still talk, but you do notice your breathing. And then the next 2 minutes, I want you to toggle between gears. I want you to find that place where you go above your aerobic threshold. And then I want you to come back to like that 75%. So it would be alternating between, say, 75%, 80% in terms of our FTP. But in terms of how it feels, when we go above that aerobic threshold, the breathing starts to become more labored. It starts to become moderately hard, but it's still not hard, but it becomes moderately hard. Concentration becomes more something that I have to pay attention to. And you're right on that line. So I want you to find that line. I want you to go back and forth over that line within the 2 minutes. So instead of just staying in one gear, you're going to maybe get up to where that breathing becomes more difficult. Pop down a gear for 15, 20 seconds. So you could notice that micro recovery and then go back up one gear harder and just be right above or right at that top end of that aerobic line. Because I want to really help you find that line so that you can use it when you're cycling outside. And then we're going to go 2 minutes back to that 70%, which is mid aerobic. So that's 6 minutes. And then we're going to do 1 minute recovery. So really in the 4x7 is 28 minutes. 24 of those minutes are working, not working super hard, but we're working. So that's the goal of the workout. If I suppose you are super fresh and recovered and wanting a harder workout, you could easily take that middle 2 minute block and bump it up to what is described as hard. But we are doing a hard workout on Thursday. And then real quick before I forget, we're going to do something a little bit different with our low cadence. We're going to do a minute, and we're going to start in a gear. And then every like 10, 15 seconds, we're going to switch one gear harder, keeping the low cadence. So what I want is I want the effort to rise over the minute. So think about being on a hill, and maybe that hill goes up a little bit in steepness, or maybe that hill just keeps going at the same pitch, but it just keeps going, right? And so that's what I want to simulate in that minute. Then we'll take a nice minute easy, and then we're just right into the workout. So one of the big reasons why I really like to focus on how these different zones feel is, I'll give you an example. I did on Saturday, I went out to the Snoqualmie Trail on the gravel trail. I rode my gravel bike, and it's 2-3% grade all the way up to Snoqualmie Falls, and then from there to the top of Snoqualmie Pass. I didn't go all the way to the pass, but anyway, I went out a couple hours, and then I came back. And I knew that the last 9 miles was flat. And so I wanted to put in a 20-minute effort that was above my aerobic zone. And so I had my heart rate to go off, but I really had my exertion. And I was really trying to pay attention to getting into that place where I felt uncomfortable and then staying there for 20 minutes, which was great because it was at the end of a 4-hour ride. But it really required concentration. I really had to tap into how does this feel, and sometimes I would try to push it up into more of like that threshold, getting into where it's more hard, just to like feel that, so I could come back down to that tempo zone, which is above aerobic, and I was breathing hard. So anyway, that's part of why I really talk about feeling these zones, so that you can use that information when you're outside and you're riding. Okay. So let's go ahead and move into the big chain ring, and you can start in your easiest big chain ring gear. We're coming up on 10 minutes, so when we hit the minute for the minute low cadence, I want you to shift maybe 2 gears harder, and I want to start off in a moderate, but I like the cadence to be more around 70. Okay, ready? 2, 1, let's go. So shift 2 gears harder, maybe 3 if you want. So nice and moderate, but I want the cadence to be low. Now, you can either start picking up the cadence a little bit, or you can try shifting 1 gear harder. Remember to use your form, elongate your spine, bring your belly button into your spine. So same thing, you could either try lifting the cadence right now, or you can go 1 gear harder. We want to increase the resistance in the pedals. So same thing, either bring your cadence up or 1 gear harder. So this is where the hill starts to become steeper. So 10 seconds. So let's just go ahead and try to lift the cadence through using power. Breathing starts to become hard. All right, and recover. So go ahead and go in the small chain ring. Nice, easy spin. Take some time to figure out what music you want to listen to. We're going in 35 seconds. So if you know that gear of choice for you, for some of you it's in your small chain ring, some of you it's in your big chain ring, go ahead and start to move towards that gear, and your cadence can be a little bit lower. So we're going to go here in 10 seconds, and then I want you to get in that mid aerobic zone. Okay, ready? Here we go. So do it by bringing up your cadence. Maybe you need to shift gears, but find yourself in that gear of choice. So working a little bit, it's not super hard. Your cadence is well above 90. This is that gear that you can ride in for a long time and still have a conversation, but also still feel like you're working and riding. You know, it's not just a super casual ride. So we're here for another minute 15. Pay attention to your breathing. Make sure it doesn't reach that ceiling of our aerobic threshold. If it does start to reach that, just go to 1 gear easier. So on today's workout, feel free, and I would encourage it, where you're switching gears even within like our 2-minute blocks. So just use those gear changes to regulate your intensity. Now when we go up on this next one for 2 minutes, when we bump up our intensity, I want you to make sure that your cadence is above 90. Because one easy way to do it is switch to a harder gear. But I want you to work at 90 cadence and in a harder gear if you can, because that's going to get you to develop a stronger, here we go, ready, go, gear of choice. but you have to keep it above 90. When you keep it above 90 and you work in a harder gear, putting these efforts in over time, all of a sudden you look down and you're in one gear harder as your gear of choice, which means that you are now essentially cycling faster. But it feels the same. That's what's great, is it feels the same as it did. You're just stronger. So out on the road or in the trainer, another way to do this, if you have a harder time with perceived exertion, is just to find that gear of choice, keep your cadence above 90, and then go to a harder gear and watch what happens to you. Keep it above 90 and watch what happens to your effort. Like right now, my cadence is 88, 89. So one of the things you notice in this gear, in this intensity, is that it requires more focus and energy to keep your cadence up, because your cadence wants to drop. And at the same time, you start to notice that you breathe a little bit harder. And remember, if you need a micro recovery, just one gear easier. Feel yourself take that big breath. Maybe it means you're ready to come back. Okay, now that probably didn't feel that hard, and that's great. But remember, the next 2 minutes, we're going to stay in our aerobic zone. So we're not just going to go into a recovery. So this is where it's going to make that last 2 minutes a little bit harder, because here we go, 2 more minutes, because we're not recovering. So easier gear change. We're not just going straight into recovery. And so this is going to make that last 2 minutes, you're going to feel it more now, okay? And what I want you to experience here and learn here is that you can recover by still riding aerobically. We don't always need to go into a pure, easy recovery. You know, we can put in these little efforts over a little hill and then come back to this gear of choice, come back to this sweet spot, come back to this aerobic riding. And over time, like, 3, 4, 5, 10 minutes, we notice that we start to recover. And so we can do that without completely dropping out to a very easy cycling. Now, whenever we do a super hard interval or a super hard hill, we're going to need to come back to that, recovery mode. But here, we're just right on that line of the aerobic threshold, mid-aerobic. So we didn't go super hard, so we don't need a big recovery. Sweating. All right, so now you get a minute recovery. You can either go to the small chain ring if you want, or you can stay in the big chain ring, easy gear. Don't worry about your cadence, just keep your legs moving. Take this opportunity to towel off, get some hydration. So this is where the workout is going to be a good workout, not a super easy workout, is because we're going right back to that mid-aerobic here in 30 seconds. And so think about the gear you're in, your gear of choice, and you can start working your way back there. So if your gear of choice is in the big chain ring, you can get back into your easy big chain ring gear. If it's in the small chain ring, you can stay there and just know which gear you want to switch into. All right, we're going in 5 seconds. Ready, go. Okay, find that gear of choice. Get your cadence above 90. And then really in the gear of choice, even think about working your cadence up to 93, 95. If, however, your breathing becomes too much, then you either can switch gears or lower your cadence to 90. So this also could be a place where you might be kind of in between two gears of choice. Like for myself, when I go to the easier gear, my cadence just automatically pops up to 98. And when I go to the harder gear, it's 88, 89. It requires a little more concentration to bring it up above 90. So what that tells me is the easier gear is really more my gear of choice, but I'm on my way to making that next gear my gear of choice. And I know that because I just switched it easier and my cadence is just super high. So I'll just keep working between those two until that harder one can become gear of choice. Okay, here we go, 2 minutes. Bring it up to right above that line. And if you want to, you can stand up just to switch up the muscle groups. Get a little power. All right, this is where you get to work a little harder and use that concentration to keep your cadence above 90 in a harder gear. And then take those micro recoveries as you need them. When you can do this, this also makes that gear choice easier. When you can spin at 90 while working harder in a harder gear, it's so much easier in an easier gear to ride at 90 cadence. All right, 5 seconds, we go down a notch. Back to that mid aerobic. Ready, go. Probably in that first gear change, maybe 2 gear changes, right away you notice how much easier it is for your cadence. And then see if you notice that where you already maybe took a big deep breath, that's a sign of your body like being like, oh, okay, it's easier, right? Your body knows that because it's just like, oh man, I got easier, thank you. So I think for some of you, that above aerobic feeling might be your Olympic distance pace / effort on the bike, or it could be your like right below your Olympic distance. It could be kind of more your half Ironman distance. It might feel like it's maybe between your half Ironman and your Olympic distance efforts. But then you can just really tell the difference between here. So that's what I want you to feel. And for some of you, this could be your half Ironman effort and pace. A lot of it depends on how long your training rides are. If you do a bunch of 75-mile bike rides, then this probably feels a little bit easier than you would do in a half Ironman. If your longest ride is 50 miles going into that race, this is probably where you should be. All right, we're coming up on the minute recovery. Ready? Here we go. So you can either do that in the big chain ring in the easy gear. You can do it in the small chain ring. Go ahead and towel off. So one way to make this workout a little more challenging would be to just remove the recovery, and so it'd be purely aerobic. So in the future, if you wanted to take this workout and modify it, you could drop the recovery to 30 seconds. You could eliminate it altogether. It would make it more challenging. Workouts can become more challenging without always going to that hard intensity. You know, it's very challenging to stay in your aerobic zone for 2-3 hours. All right, we're going to 5 seconds again. See that recovery goes by quick. Ready, here we go. You're like, what the hell, man? All right, get back in that gear choice. Sometimes you may need to stand up just to mix it up, and that's okay. Doesn't hurt anything. Sometimes that's a really good way, like you shift gears like that, just to bump up your power, to make it so when you sit down, it's easier to spin at 90. Yes, aerobic tempo is great for Monday morning. Don't forget you can toggle gears. I'm really glad that I figured out several weeks ago, and I did, that having the hard workout on Monday was less beneficial and strategic, because you could easily be coming off a tough weekend, and to have that hard workout on Monday, not the best planning. So something like this works more as a recovery, even though it's not an active recovery workout. Okay, 2 minutes. Bump it up. Get into that more tempo. Breathing becomes harder. So even though this is not a recovery workout, because it's ultimately not too hard, and in a lot of ways, if you're coming off a hard workout, this can sort of speed your recovery. So I think another great way of thinking about this zone right here would be thinking about improving your gear of choice. Because Like for me, it really takes effort to keep my cadence at 90 in this harder gear. It just keeps wanting to drop. But on the road, a lot of times, once you get it above 90, because of the momentum, it's easier to keep it there. So once you get it above 90, you can settle into this rhythm. And if you're having a hard time cresting 90, just go one gear easier for 15 seconds. Let your cadence pop up, and then work to keep it at 90 when you switch back. All right, 5 seconds, and we go back to mid aerobic. Ready to go. Pay attention to when your body gives you that big exhale, because that's a sign that you're shifting to that easier intensity. And those are things you can use out on the road. When you're out there and you're working, and then you go to easier gear, or the terrain changes, and all of a sudden you just feel this exhale. You can start to think, a little bit of recovery going on. And depending on what your goals are for the ride, you can use that information. Maybe you're working with people who are faster than you, and you hit that recovery, and you're still with them, and you go, oh, thank God. And then you just, you hold on to that recovery because it's going to have to go back up a bit. Or maybe you're wanting to do like a block in that tempo zone, and you recognize that recovery, and then you remind yourself, wait, I still want to be in tempo, so I got to kick it back up. All right, got a minute recovery. 2, 1, go. So nice and easy. Don't worry about your cadence. Keep your legs moving. Hydrate. One more. So if you want to ride longer, once we finish this next set, you can do like another 5-10 minutes at the lower end of your aerobic zone. So maybe just below, where we spend those 2 minutes. And then you can add in like a 5-minute recovery, push this up to like 55 minutes, an hour. Okay, we're going in 5 seconds. So if you want to be in the big chain ring, now's your opportunity. Ready? Here we go. You might find that this last set requires a little bit more concentration. All right, 30 seconds, and then we do our last 2 minutes. Tempo. I think tempo is a fun zone to work in because it doesn't feel that hard. But then you're clearly going faster. Like when you're out on the road, you know you're going faster and you're doing it without killing yourself. Ready? Here we go. 2, 1. And switch gears. All right, so you're at least 1 to 2 gears harder than your gear of choice. And your task is to keep your cadence above 90. And then monitor your effort. If moderately hard to hard starts to creep into more solidly hard and go a gear easier, or maybe you need to toggle gears based on your cadence. But use this opportunity to try to get to 90 in a harder gear. If you do that, I'm telling you, you'll see a big improvement in your cycling, because forcing yourself to ride at 90 in these harder gears, you go back to that gear of choice and it's just like, it's so easy. So that's one of the huge benefits of this right here, is it isn't necessarily the work here, but it's when we go back, how easy that feels. So that's one trick that I use. You just saw that. If I want to get my cadence up, sometimes I switch to a harder gear. I stand up, 4 pedal strokes, sit down, easier gear, and then I have that power in my pedal stroke just because of standing up. All right, getting ready to go back to mid aerobic. Here we go. 1, maybe 2 gears easier. Pay attention to when your body gives out that big, relaxing breath. Maybe even notice if initially you're in a slightly harder gear as your gear of choice, or maybe you're now toggling between gears, but it's still like, you know, that toggle gear is 1 gear harder than your gear of choice. All right, nice job. Nice, easy minute recovery. You probably find that in your small chain ring. Whew. Nice job, everyone. See, that was great because it's a good workout that you're not wiped out. Save that for Thursday. I will tell you, if you can, come into Thursday feeling refreshed. So maybe that means, like, if you have your schedule and you have a harder workout between Tuesday and Wednesday, maybe you can do the harder workout on Tuesday, do a bit of a recovery. Maybe it's a swim workout on Wednesday. If you can come into Thursday's workout ready for a big workout, hard workout, then your physical body will be matched up to what we're going to do. And it's not super hard. Thursdays for me. Thursday. No Thursday for you, Mantha? If you can't do it Thursday, if you could do the workout on Friday, but I would say if you have a big workout on Saturday, then here's what I would do. Let's say, okay, you can't do Thursday and you have a big workout on Saturday. So moving Thursday to Friday is not a great idea because it's going to leave you tired for Saturday. Here's what I would do. If you have a hard bike workout, I would put the hard bike workout on Wednesday. So go into last Thursday's workout and ride that video this Wednesday. Oh, you're going to be here Thursday. I'm just afraid. Don't be afraid. It's hard. It was hard in a really good way. You can ask Patricia. It's a sweat fest. So make sure you have a towel. I have to look it up. Let me see what we did. I just remember it was hard. Oh yeah, here's what we did. And I think it's the same. We spent a minute aerobic in our gear of choice. And then we did a minute 30 at tempo. So what we just did for 2 minutes, we did a minute 30. But then right out of that, we did basically 110% of your FTP / best sustainable pace / hard to very hard. So because we went into that hard to very hard with a minute 30 in tempo, we went into it a little bit fatigued and then just like bumped it up. So it was really like, what was that, 4 minutes? Because the first minute was aerobic and then tempo and then best sustained pace. And man, whew. The best sustained pace is when you start to feel that leg burn, when you're working really hard and there's a lot of resistance, you get that lactate buildup. And that's where it gets hard. It's also really challenging mentally because it's, a little bit painful. But when you're done, you're like, oh man, thank God. And those are good workouts too, because they make a workout like this feel like nothing because, Patricia was, I don't know if she's on here today, but maybe I scared her away. But like that workout was so challenging that today is like, it feels, I'm not going to call it a recovery workout, but it's a heck of a lot more of a recovery workout than a workout like that. All right, so let's do this. Let's go in the big chain ring, and then we're going to stand up, but I want the effort to still be moderate. So if you need to sit down to switch gears to find, I just want to spend like maybe 30 seconds standing up, but keeping the effort moderate. Sit down if you have to switch gears to find that place. Sometimes standing up is a good way to stretch your low back, especially if you're on a long ride. All right, go ahead and sit down. Find a nice, easy gear. And then we'll just spend the last minute here. Nice, easy spin. And then hopefully you guys enjoy these sunny days. Get outside, read a book, sit in a chair, have something cold to drink. Especially here in the Northwest, we feel like summer just started on July 15th. So take advantage of it because October will be here soon. All right, it was great to see you guys. Thanks for showing up. I was thinking about earlier today before I started writing, and we're done, 45 minutes. But I was thinking about how, you know, one of the biggest challenges, especially right now, because we maybe aren't trained for events or races, is staying consistent. So if you can keep exercising and stay consistent, that's the key. All right, I'll see you guys.